Thanks, Melissa. Hi, everyone. My name is Wendy Peart. I'm the curator of.
And step a bit forward.
I'm trying to get Wi-Fi or something. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm the curator of education and community outreach at John Art Gallery. And I have had the glorious privilege of working with Shelley Niro over the past 4 months. And I just want to underscore what an honor it has been, and even more so, meeting her this week and just getting to know her better. It's been really fantastic. I've been an admirer of Shelley's work over the years, so this marks a really wonderful occasion for me. I also just want to acknowledge that this exhibition, which crosses both the Central Gallery and the Shore Gallery, originated at the Art Gallery of Southwestern Manitoba. So tonight we will enjoy Shelley's talk, and we'll have some questions to follow if you have them. And then we'll go upstairs to enjoy the gallery show and to have a chance to talk to each other, hopefully. Before I introduce Shelley, I just want to let you know about a few other programs that Shelley will be conducting. Tomorrow afternoon here at Central, she'll be doing a storytelling workshop from 1:30 to 4. There's still some spaces available. You can either register online or just drop in if you have time, and there's probably going to be a space, although we will be limiting the amount of people to 15. And what else is happening? Also, Shelley is going to be doing a session called Art School in February on the 18th. It's a Friday afternoon from 2 to 3:30, I think. If you're interested in registering for that, you can always email me, wpeard@regionallibrary.ca. We've got about 3 spaces left. It's a small group discussion that is focused towards emerging artists. Get a chance to talk to Shelley about her career development, get some advice, get some support. They're always really interesting discussions. Okay, so Shelley Niro, what do I say? I'm just gonna read her bio. Shelley Niro is a member of the Turtle Clan Bay of Quinte Mohawk from the Six Nations Reserve. She holds a degree from Ontario College of Art and a Master of Fine Art from the University of Western Ontario. Niro has exhibited across Canada, has working collections at the Canada Council Art Bank, Canadian Museum of History, and Canadian Museum of Contemporary Photography. Her award-winning films have been screened in festivals worldwide, and she presented work at the 2003 Venice Biennale. Shelley Niro lives in Brantford, Ontario. I failed to tell you, but she also will be screening a number of her films coming up this month. So just please check out the schedule online on the Regina Film Theatre website to find out when they're running, or talk to Thomas. He's got them permanently etched into his mind. He's been planning those for a while. So I'm going to pass things off to Shelley now.
Thank you, Wendy. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight on a Friday night. I know sometimes Friday is a coveted time that you just want to be home and, relax. I'd also like to thank Alyssa Furin for inviting me to be here. And it's great to see the work up, because the work was showing in Brandon over a year ago, and I get to finally see it because I hadn't seen it. So it's very nice. I'd like to thank Wendy Peart for also making it possible, and almost no effort on my part to be here. And Thomas and Eric and Sarah. So having said that, I will get on with my show. And it might be a little bit long, and I'll keep an eye on the clock, because I think we want to be out of here like 8 o'clock. So I have a few images to go through. Sometimes I get a little bit wordy in describing the work, but I'll try to get through and not bore you guys to tears. I don't want to say death, because that's too drastic. So are we going to, are these lights the way they're going to be? Like, do these lights stay up like this? Yeah? Okay.
I think they'll have
Okay. Well, this is a painting I did in 1987. It's called Waitress. And I created this after viewing on TV a conference between Brian Mulroney and the First Nations ministers. And Brian Mulroney looked like he was not taking anything too serious that was going on in that meeting. So sometimes, mostly I watch TV and I get affected by what I'm perceiving as being ill manners or, badly treated. And so in this case, I did this painting. And so it's Mila and Brian having a great time. And do I do that? Okay. And there I am, a waitress in a Chinese restaurant. And it's the only way I could get a job when I was young, pretending to be Chinese and working in a Chinese restaurant. This was also done in 1987, and it's a picture of a living room and ghosts of ancestors from the outside looking in. So I just call this piece Ghost. Or Guess, not Ghost. Oh, I forgot I had these on here. This is, there's 3 paintings in this series, and sometimes they get caught up in apocalyptic ideas. So this one is just called Eating. And, it's kind of a funny painting because missiles going up in the sky and birds are falling down and kites and balloons. And meanwhile, you see arrows falling as well. And the relish on her hot dog is falling as well. This one's called Drinking. And so it's all the chaos. And as the world is coming to an end, it's on fire. And I did this back in 2007. I think it was before all the fires started happening. And smoking. And I think I was influenced by the cigarette shops around the reserve that, seem to take over all at once. And, all of these little shops that just kind of show up. So that was Eating, Drinking, Smoking. This piece is called Traveling Through, and it was painted in 2013. And it really comes down to being influenced by the murdered and the missing. And at the time, I was going to a lot of the ceremonies that were taking place that had, the murdered and missing as the reason why we would be gathered there. But eventually, I figured I can't go here anymore because it's really, you come away very heavy-hearted. So I thought I'm gonna paint something instead. So this piece is called Traveling Through. I had my friend Jackie Carpenter, who is from Attawapiskat. She was the model for these paintings. And I just wanted to create paintings that were, had a positive role. This one is called Wishing a River. And with this, I put the subject near a river, and she's deciding where she wants to go. So it's using that canoe, and I found the one before also had a canoe in it. This one's continuing the journey, and it's more about imagination, and with your imagination, you can decide where you want to go, where you want to take your mind, and what you want to do with it. In this painting, it's a nightscape, and so there's the celestial sky, and there's Iroquois beadwork, which is kind of supposed to represent the stars at night. This one's called Raven's World. Raven is my granddaughter, and here she can optimistically go anywhere she wants, and she has a good handle on her roots. This one is, oh, my aching, breaking, beating heart. And I wanted to do something that acknowledged beadwork and how important it is to all of us, and how we use beads in such a way that it's creative and it's really kind of luscious. So I really wanted to work or create a work that did that. And it's quite a big piece too. It's about 5 feet tall by about 4 feet. I don't know this thing. Okay. Abundance. This is a painting much along the lines of Aching Breaking Heart, and it's made for fun, bringing in light and expressing joy. Day 1, it's a painting of tobacco. One of the plants Sky Woman brought from the sky world to plant when she arrived on the back of the turtle. I had also painted one of strawberries, and strawberries are also used as a plant for Turtle Island to be used as medicine. This one is 1 trillion years ago, made in 2015. And with painting this painting of trillium, it's a trillium, it's to remind us the education we receive in elementary school. In Ontario, we were taught almost as soon as we started grade 1 to not pick trilliums, leave them alone. They were becoming extinct and they needed our protection. And I use this as an example of racism. It's taught from a young age, intentionally made to, it's intentionally made to make people keep groups separated and have someone to blame for their own misfortune. This is the only bronze I ever made. It's called Mother and Child. If anybody's ever worked with bronze, you'll know how hard it is to make a bronze sculpture. But it's something that I want to continue as I get older, because it's I really love the texture and the feel that's made when it's created. Okay, I lost my line of thought here. There it is. Okay. This work is Resting with Warriors. And these are like platforms made out of plywood, and there's 4 of them. And I'm referring to the area that these are standing on or in. I was asked by Terry Graff from Rodman Hall to create an outdoor installation. And I thought, this is a great opportunity to do a little bit of research about Tecumseh, who I want to know more about. But when I went to look for any kind of information on him, I couldn't find anything. So I started thinking about the women that were here during times of war and what their roles would have been. And I came up with the 4 female figures. And it's made so that you could lay on these things too. So if you're, outside and you, like this one is Spirit. This one is Intellect. They look like they're backwards, but actually they're the right way because I made woodcut prints out of them. And so it's pretty labor intensive. They were 4 by 6 feet sheets of plywood, and you roll the ink down, and then you can push the paper into the ink so that you end up with an image. And this one's called Intellect because I think that, in a group you have to have someone who's more or less not bossy, but to project the community forward. They have to be in a position where they know what to do and they can tell people what they should be doing. So this is Spirit. And I think Spirit's important as well, because if you don't have spirit, then, you really have no direction. So this is how the wood print looks. And emotion is important as well, because it has to be acknowledged as the driving force behind spirit and intellect. Oh, there was one missing. I have another one called Strength. And strength is about protecting and always keeping an eye open and always looking outward. This is an installation that I made in 2001, and it's called Unbury My Heart. It's a multi-layered installation, 500 velvet hearts, and they're sewn onto ropes, and they are tangling our nations together. They're laid out in front of 4 paintings that show water, land, air, and fire. I think I might have those. Yeah, there's the hearts there. There's water, fire, air. Oh, I'm missing one, it's gone. Homage to the old ones. It's a piece from 1993. I'm using beads, rocks, and velvet. And because it's called Homage to the Old Ones, I took rocks from these different areas, you know, so the lake rocks come from the lake and the river from the river, etc. And so I just wanted to make something that kind of showcases them and the beauty of rocks. I've really become a great rock collector. This is a Sky Woman installation at the Museum of Civilization. I don't know what it's called now. Is it the Museum of Canadian History or something? So it's a large installation. This is The Rebel from 1991. It's this one, I don't think it's hand tinted, but I've hand tinted this image quite a bit. And it's my mom across the card, and there's, well, I can't drink this. Let me try to get control of there it is. There, that's the Rebel. It's an American Rebel card. Mohawks and Beehives from 1991 after Oka. And sometimes people ask me what was Oka, and it was a big confrontation between the Canadian government and the Mohawk Indians in Oka Reserve. But I think what bothered me the most was if you read the paper, if you watched TV, if you listened to the radio, it was on every day, all day. And it was mostly about Mohawk people and, you know, how they had weapons hidden and they were doing all these nefarious things. So I got kind of fed up with it, and I asked my sisters if they would participate in this series, and they all agreed that they would. So these are my sisters, all dressed up, looking kind of like badasses, and they are. This piece is called I Enjoy Being a Mohawk Girl, and the design is actually the mat board where it's hand drilled. This one is portrait of the artist sitting with a killer, surrounded by a killer. No, surrounded by, I'm getting my title all mixed up. It's portrait of the artist sitting with a killer, surrounded by French curves. And people ask me, which one is the killer? And it's the cigarette, yeah. Like, no. This one is the Iroquois is a highly developed matriarchal society. And I kind of make fun of history books where they're always described the Iroquois as these, you know, highly developed nations. And, you know, it's like, yeah, maybe we are. Mohawk on a Cloud. Standing on Guard for Thee. This is a statue in downtown Brantford, and on top of that statue is Joseph Brant. And on the second layer of the statue is all his Indian scouts kind of looking out for him. So this piece is called Red Heels Hard. And it's, I'll just read the bottom. Behind us stands a monument to the great late Chief J.B. He brought us from upper New York State, from the Mohawk Valley. Carried in his jeweled bag and blown into the wind. We grew as maples, oaks, and pines along the banks of the Grand. We followed that yellow brick road and clicked our red heels hard. But this is where we'll stay forever, and for thee we stand on guard. And that's how that piece looks. And I'm referring to how we had to leave New York State and we ended up Brantford. And, you know, I don't know if you've ever been to Brantford, but it's like, why are we here? Have you been back there? It's so beautiful. This piece is in the show here, but I'll just go through it anyway. And I think it's pretty straightforward. And it's called In Her Lifetime. In her younger years, she was so carefree, laughing, singing, dancing. She would look out to the horizon and let her thoughts drift out with the never-ending tide. As maturity set in, she would become depressed over the fact that soap operas have no endings. Some country music reminded her of soggy cornflakes. She could never find the matching sock to the one she held in her hand. Native issues would never be resolved in her lifetime. She would give herself a shake and realize Christmas was 6 months away. The kids would be out of school soon. And Friday was just a day away. And that's that piece. This next series is called This Land is My Land and Triptychs. I'm in the first image and I've rented costumes from my local costume place. The second image is a family member, and the third one is me with really kind of just being myself, with nothing fancy or whatever. And the mat board is drilled, so it has these drill mats all around it. And I think of it as a way of like a portal. So it's like to get into the images, you have to look at the drilled patterns around it and, sort of allow yourself to think, well, this is native Iroquois work. And so you can sort of look at that way. And at first I used to be really, what's the word? I wanted to stick to traditional designs. But then I thought, well, these traditional designs were at some point contemporary. Somebody had to sit down and think them up. So realizing that, then it allowed me to also invent my own designs for things that I wanted to use design for. This one is called 500 Year Itch. The middle one is my mom. This is the image that I use quite a bit in the show here, because I really like that image. And it's her, and she's 15, and she's just about to get into the real world. This one's Final Frontier. Judge Me Not. That's my sister at the OCUP protest after everything stopped being a protest. So she's holding a sign like justice for Aboriginal people. Love Me Tender. Mohawk Worker. That's my dad. I think he's 17 as a woodcutter there. North American Welcome. My mom wearing a t-shirt from the powwow, the New Credit powwow. Santa is a Dene. Survivor. I'm a one-eyed trapeze artist. In this picture, every time I try to do something, my dog would always kind of find her way in the picture. The Warning of Snow. This work is called Passing Through. It was made in 1993. I've incorporated painting into this series along with photographs. I also invited my mother to participate in this series, as I have often done in previous work. The intention of the work or the piece is to be aware of the environment in which Native people have to negotiate to go about daily life. The photographs have a Native woman, my mother, going into a typical city. Here she is confronted by signs at first welcoming, then instructional. Then as she leaves the city, she walks by a sign that says thank you and call again. Is it guidance or is it restriction? Once you realize everyone has to abide by the rules, it feels like a condensed living space with control coming from somewhere. These photographs are placed in front of and in between paintings that creates a place of nature, giving a sense of peace. The overall umbrella is covered by the sky above us. At least we have the sky to look at when we get overwhelmed by the noise, the glass, and the cement featured all around us. That's her going into the friendly city. There's City Hall. You can provincial court. And signs that more or less keep you, making sure you're doing everything the way you're supposed to. Oh, you're here already. These are a series called Flying Woman, and they were done in 1994. You control this thing. They're collages of black and white photographs, and this was before I knew Photoshop, so they are really cut and pasted down. And I really wanted to feel that this character, that the subject or the model in the work is Teresa Marshall, and I wanted her to feel like she's, can do anything she wants to do. Mostly they don't have titles and they've only been numbered. Sometimes I have added a title onto them, but I just wanted it to be like images of freedom and movement. This one was called Finding Others Like Herself, Part A. This one's Finding Others Like Herself, Part B. And, you can see there's different energy in each of these photographs. I was really playing with the mirrored image as well, seeing how far I could take it. This work is done in 2003, Surrender Nothing Always. I really think that, being an artist, it's an act of resistance, maybe protest, but it's something that we have to keep doing because, it's like our calling. So we have to see what we can do to make an opinion and get that opinion stated out there. This is from the shirt. The shirt happened after I flew over Texas in 2002. I was on my way to an indigenous photographic conference. And I really looked at the landscape, looking out that plane window. It was all chopped up. It looked like quilts. And I started thinking about the Comanches and what they had to do, and they were really trying to hold on to their land. And I thought of every section of land that was cut and owned and protected by fences. So I began to think about the indigenous population that once lived there and what they had to sacrifice. When I arrived at the conference, I asked my good friends Helea Tisnagini and Veronica Pasalako if they could participate in a photo series that I had in mind, and they both said yes, they would. So the next year, I met them in Irvine, California. I wanted the ocean to serve as a background location for the series. We went to a state park and began to shoot photos. We were there to closing time about 5 o'clock. As we started our photo shoot, a park ranger stood at his patrol car, megaphone in hand, and demanded we stop what we were doing. His reasoning was that we could take photos, but with family cameras only. We didn't know what a family camera. I had a larger or a mid-size format camera. He said, "Put your camera down and step away," which we did. He went on to say he could take our equipment and fine us $5,000. So we just left immediately. I just found it really kind of funny that we were confronted that way because there was nobody else in the park. But again, it reinforces the idea of corporal power and how it can be used for what means. So there's also a video version of this piece, and the video version was shown at the Venice Biennale in 2000 and, was it 3? I think it was 3. So this is, my ancestors were annihilated, exterminated, murdered, and massacred. They were they were lied to, cheated, tricked, and deceived. Attempts were made to assimilate, colonize, enslave, and displace them. And all I get is a shirt. Yeah. So it's like us, status Indians, people say, oh, you guys get everything. You get dental, you get health, you get all that kind of stuff paid for. But it's like, I wouldn't say we get all that stuff, because eyeglasses are something that, that is included, but they're not exactly the best eyeglasses. And dental care, it's not exactly the best dental care, but, it's like getting a shirt. Anyways, I will continue. This work is called The Essential Sensuality of Ceremony. And when I did this series, I was studying the legend of the peacemaker and how he had to convince people to join him in his cause to bring peace to the Iroquois nation, who were in great turmoil at the time. Many of the population had died off, and so the ones that were left were orphans, and they didn't know anything. They didn't know manners, they didn't know what to cook, they didn't know what to eat, they didn't know how to really look after themselves. And so with this work, I was trying to show that, he went through and he started telling them that you have all this deer here, because there's also stories that Iroquois people were cannibals, and it's like, yeah, I get that. And but you have deer, use the deer. And so in all the stories, there was like songs. People were always like singing. So that's like also trying to awaken the senses after going through a period of grief. This one is, I think it's tobacco, where tobacco is always part of the ceremony as well. And taste, I think was referring back to deer and eating deer, wiping away the tears of grief so that you can think with a clear mind. And it's like, just trying to make yourself better and not accept the way you are. And this is using wampum. So I think it's about physical touch and just becoming sensitive to the person that's standing next to you. This series is called Ghost Girls Grandmas. And with this series, I don't know, I didn't really come up with a great artist statement with this work, but I just wanted to work on it. And so there's a frame, and it's made out of commercial wampum beads. So I made the frame. Doesn't mean anything, because usually when you use wampum, it's supposed to have a story, it's a document of some sort. But I just wanted to get the feeling that, this story could mean a lot of different things. So with this work, this is my friend here, and we were experimenting with lighting, and so he's sort of become the ghost in this work. Rocks, I like rocks. The girl, my daughter, my dog. That dog is standing so still, she never does that. Trees overhead. And my mom. So sometimes to me, sometimes for me, when I'm looking at art or making art, it's like listening to music. You like it, but you don't know why. And I don't think you always have to articulate why you want to do something or the way you want to do it. But I think as long as it's not an empty piece where, it has to have some kind of emotion in the work. But maybe I'll have an artist statement next time. This work is called Preparing the Runner for the 23rd Millennium. And I made this in 2007. It was for a group show, and it was celebrating the group of 7. So we're each given a painting, and from that painting that we could make anything we wanted to do to commemorate. I think it was how many years, 75 years or something that, they had been around. So with my piece, I chose this painting, which is El Goma, and it's a painting by Lauren Harris. And of course, it's like, okay, I'm going to do something with this. And so because I thought, well, this is, his painting is kind of the idyllic painting of the landscape in Canada. And that's what they were known for, showing Canada and its, natural setting and its natural beauty. So with my work, I wanted to put it in the future. And here we're using this painting as an example of what the earth used to look like. But I have here, the runner is, in traditional times, the runner would be taking tobacco to the next chief if he wanted a meeting. And, I forgot that. No, I don't. I used to have strings of wampum, and the runner would take these strings of wampum and, give it to the next chief, and then they'd plan this meeting they want to have. But because it's the future, and because scientists are saying the male population is dwindling, and so we'll only have females in the future. So because of that, I have, I don't think I have all the things in here photographed that I should, but there's a lipstick, there's a compact, there's a comb, there's a hand there that, everybody will be toxic, so you can't touch anybody, so it has to be like a hand extension. But then the runner will have books to read, Planning for a Better Future, which is Teachings from the Longhouse, and Pearl Buck's The Good Earth, which I think is a really great book, talking about how to, grow and sustain, and it just shows you how you can live. Of course, it goes on to different directions than just having a good life. I do beadwork, and I do beadwork for my rocks. So this one is called I Sat on the Riverbank Waiting for Signs of Life. This one is One Day in March. This one is called Here. And in here, there's a mirror, you can see yourself, but then in the box itself, there's like a little feather, and then there's a rock that's kind of heart-shaped. So I always think, we're all here because of evolution, and it had to start at some point. I should really have a little dinosaur bone in that box. Borders. There's 4 photographs in this series, and I've used hands as an expression to show how we can get along or not get along. So this one is called Boundless. So it's a man's hand and a woman's hand. This one's called Borders. And of course, that's barbed wire fencing above and a fence below. This one's called Treaties. This one's called Unity. This work is called La Pietà from 2007. And there's 7 images here. The first and the 7th image are of water. I use this to symbolize the importance of an element essential for all living things, and without it we would die. The earth uses it to cleanse and heal itself after periods of chaos and turmoil. And water carries us for 9 months in our mother's womb and makes our journey into this world easier. Water promises a life of promises a life of abundance, growth, safety, and hope for the future. This is the Mohawk Valley. This infinite view represents what was lost in the diaspora of Iroquois people when they were forced to leave the Mohawk Valley after the American Revolution. The natural beauty never to be returned to takes my breath away. Again, the landscape represents mother, a place that's always producing, always there, and a place that had to be defended and eventually lost. The maternal homeland still waits for the return of her people. This is a trunk. The image is a close-up of the resources, a single tree. The detail allows the viewer to see what would otherwise be ignored. We can examine each bark chunk, each shadow and crease. The knots act as invitations for us to listen and comment on the physicality of each tree as an individual. They have character and personality and can be cut down at the will of any man. This series of images are to represent the resources that are lost and damaged in times of war. The grand landscape is torn apart. Over time, the earth will heal. The loss of young life leaves a definite scar on the world. No matter whose life, whose side of the battle that was fought, mothers will cry forever. The Gothic landscape. I've returned to the landscape, a different type of landscape. This photo was taken in the winter. The leaves and the grass are gone. The bare limbs of trees hang on in anticipation of spring. As a metaphor for sadness, this forest looks full but is empty at the same time. The bareness waits, never knowing when birds will sing again from its branches. This photo was taken at the edge of Caledonia. It was taken before the protests and land claims filled the front pages of the newspaper in the summer of 2005. These hydro towers look like they're sneaking up out of the landscape. They're also representative of the power this place holds, but it's not a spiritual power, but one of monetary value. A superficial power cutting everyone on hold, or putting everyone on hold, juxtaposed with the Grand River. I find these two connecting elements catapults my imagination back to a time when our traditional ancestors tried to remain in their contemporary world, negotiating with politicians and businessmen. I feel like we have not moved on since that time. It's almost 8 o'clock. I'm gonna skip the next page and kind of quickly go through the rest of the images. This one is called The Wild Ones and the Colonized. Who do you think is what? Stories of women. I'll go through these. There's 10 of them. But I think when I'm working on my photo image or anything, I'm really trying to impress on the world. Native women are really multi-dimensional. We're not, one-dimensional. You just can't take us for granted that we have a lot to offer. So this piece I called Ancestor. This one's begging it. Where's my doggy again? Beginnings. Blanket. Finding her helpers. This refers back to the story of Sky Woman as she's falling through the sky, and legend has it she fell for 9 months. And as she's getting close to Turtle Island, the animals around her are trying to figure out what they're looking at when they see her falling. And they can't see if she's falling or what's going on. So finally they do figure out that she is falling. So at which point the birds go up to help her to bring her down to the back of the turtle to land her safely. This one is Land of Opportunity. Legacy. Many Horizons. Memory of Flight. Routes. I will skip this one because it'll take me the rest of the time to read through it, but this one's called Parallel Worlds of Women, and I guess that's it. I don't know. But I was so impressed by the story on this, I forget what they're called. Anybody know what these things are called when they have the two images in one? But it's about this young French girl, and she stopped the Germans from passing over on this bridge. And she took the key and she threw it into the canal. And just as they were about to execute her, the French army came and they started firing at the Germans, and she escaped. And then she went on to live a good life. And then she was also awarded this big award, and she at the Sorbonne in Paris. So I was just so affected by the story that I thought, well, that's such a great story. And it's like, why aren't our stories told? So I went and made my own story. And this one's called Jigosase Prepares Warriors and Warns them against danger. And in the story of the peacemaker, she was, considered to be this evil woman who would poison people that crossed her path. And so when she saw how the really evil one changed, she thought, oh, well, if he can change, maybe I can change, which he did. And then after she started helping people, and she started helping direct people in their journey, and because of that, she was given the title Mother of Nations, who was able to choose the chief for the Iroquois Confederacy. So it's like, well, all of our stories aren't told, but I think we have to tell them. We have to find them and search them out and just tell them, because they're just as exciting as anybody else's story. So this is a triptych, and the middle image there is a wampum belt, but I just sort of played around with it. So I wanted to really give it this kind of feminine look to it. Oh, this is fun. These are called Resting with Warriors. No, that's another one. These are called Warrior Dreams. And this one is called Warrior Dreams of Hunting, Warrior Dreams of Life in the Sky, Warrior Dreams of Fighting No More, Warrior Dreams of Pastures and Power. And this is 4 directions of the warrior. And this is Dressing Warrior. There's the Grand River just outside the reserve, and that's the power lines that just sit on the outside of that. This one is Give Her Bread and Cheese. And this is a statue I found in Waterford with Queen Victoria, and it has all her, titles, Beloved Empress and Great Mother and all this sort of thing. And so I just added Give Her Bread and Cheese because on our reserve on the 24th of May, everybody goes out and gets their bread and cheese. At one point we were given bread and cheese by the British government for us being their allies during that war, and then they stopped doing it. And then for some reason our band council said, hey, let's keep that going. So, on the 24th of May, families come back and get their bread and cheese, and just something to do, I guess. Okay, I'll keep going because I know you guys want to go home. This one's called buffet. Even though it says money, I call it buffet. And somebody said, why did you call it buffet and not money? Because it's like, behind you see all the different nationalities that show up in North America, and they find what they want to find, and then they send it back home. So it's like they're going, hey, everybody, come over here. You can get lots of stuff. And this is a reference back to my theme, the theme of war and resources and young bodies of men. So I just call this piece 4. This is Nature's Scream. This is a funny piece for me because I was with my friend, I had my camera, I took this picture, and then when I went back, because I wanted to take more pictures of it, I couldn't find it. And it's like, I don't know where that is, that's so weird. Solace. This is black and white photos, and I'll just go through them really fast. So I took 6 of them, and I wanted to create an environment where you could sit with them and just feel at peace. And so it's called Solace, and I really, just having photos of nature around you, sometimes it's just a reminder that, we can find that peace if we look for it. Well, these are the pieces that are upstairs, and it's called History of the World, and it's a little artist statement. Refers to the influence capital gain has had on the environment and native people. The fossils refers to the earth and the longevity of its existence. How long has the earth been here? Millions, billions, trillions of years? No one knows for sure. We can only guess. And the Indian head nickel was a small memorial to the vanishing race of the Native Americans and the buffalo in the USA. Funny how the nickel became the platform for establishing a sad reminder of what was here once upon a time. Life goes on. The 4 colors these pieces are laid upon are 4 directions of Native people. They represent the different direction or different tribes, the nations we all come from. This is a sculptural piece called 1779, and it refers to when we left the Mohawk Valley after being really chased out by the Sullivan campaign, which was instructed by George Washington to get rid of the Iroquois from the New York State. So if you look inside like underneath those boots, there's a video of the whirlpool in Niagara Falls. And I just wanted to create something that, it's always a reminder, like we can't forget our history, and so many ways we have to relearn it and make a point of how we're gonna keep remembering it, because we can forget about stuff so fast. These are the Indians I found in a toy store. I think I paid $1 for them, and I had them forever. And I thought I'm gonna use them at some point. So this is called a show off. I ended up really liking them because they're about, I don't know, 10 inches tall, and they're done so well. It has the detail of the muscles and the facial expressions, and I just thought, wow, these are amazing. So this one's called the dimpled one because he has really nice dimples. Day at the beach. I found those 3 figures at an antique store, and I just put them together with the plastic guys, and they look like they're having fun. Then everybody got mad. That needs no explanation. Mr. Ambidextrous. Oh, and this is a piece called Ouch. And my art statement is way too long. I won't read it, but it's about water and how the lack of water in different Indian reserves is, it's always lacking. And even when I was growing up, we were always told, don't drink the water, stay out of the river. And, it never goes away. Heroes. There's Kateri Tekakwitha, poor little Kateri, look at her. And then there's the woman from Star Wars. I don't know who this is, but she's kind of impressive. And of course, there's David, who is bigger than life. Souvenirs from the homeland. I was with a couple of friends who went driving through the New York State. We stopped at every thrift store, antique store, it's like, it just became an obsession with us. So I found these two things at the last one we stopped at, and this one is like a bank card. And it's, have a picture taken beside an Indian, and it's like travel carefree, and I don't know, I just found it kind of funny. And then there's this little glass case I found, and what are those things called where you can move and it changes the picture? Anyways, that's what this is right here. And it has somebody shooting somebody and that guy's falling down, but meanwhile, the kids are sitting there watching TV, watching all this violence that's happening. So I just put them together and it's like, yep, that's the homeland. Oh, this is a good one too. This one is the legacy of Columbus. And I found this at Trader Joe's. And it's like, as a native person, I'm so offended, but it's Columbus and his Italian dry salami. Yeah. Oh, painting, this one's called Weapon. And these are the final images. These are called Resting Place of Our Ancestors. I've spent many hours looking at different species embedded into rock faces. I'm not a paleontologist, but I'm curious about life that existed before and during the era of the Big Bang. I become attached to the narrative of these small creatures as they went about their daily tranquil lives, and suddenly they are now the centerfolds for explaining my own existence as I slither along the edges of this century. These imprints of long gone life unite us all as evidence of where we come from. And that's the final image. Thank you very much for your attention. Are there any questions?
Is this working? No. Yes, it's working. Okay, I have to speak loudly. Can the interpreter hear me? A little bit, okay. Thanks, everyone. Now it's time for questions, but we do have an online question that I'd like to start with. So I will read it out. Did you have any artists' influence in your artwork? Like other artists, do you have any artists influence you in your work?
Not really, no. We never went to galleries or exhibits or museums, but we did have people who made things around us constantly. So those people I consider to be the artists that I had around me, people who did beadwork and made rattles and, I think it was beyond craft. It was like something that they did in a constant way. So, no. No.
Yeah, thanks. Does anybody else in the audience have a question? There will be an opportunity as well if you're coming to the opening, if you want to ask Shelley just on your own, but anybody else, questions?
All those large were the prints that you, the ones with the emotion, and were they quite at a large scale?
Yeah, I printed those on 4x6 feet plywood pieces. So once you get the paper down, you get it rubbed out. It's quite, they're quite large. Yeah.
Hey, that's not the first time that's happened to me in this theater. Are there any other questions?
Don't be shy.
I know it's been so long since we've had an artist in our midst that we can actually have. Okay, Shimmy.
I'd love to hear a bit about what it feels like to look at some of the older work you make and to talk about it alongside newer work.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a really emotional experience because, you make stuff, you put it away, and then suddenly when you look at it again, it's like, it brings back the time when you made it and practically what you're feeling at the time. So it can be really, pretty emotional. And I try to guard myself against that, because it's like, okay, here comes that piece, don't get all choked up. Yeah.
We have another online question. Where do you see yourself going in the future as an artist? You are so diverse.
I don't know. As you get older, the old eyes don't work as good. I think, I don't know, maybe sculpture, something that I haven't really done a lot of, but I'd like to.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much, Shelley. It was really great to see a large body of work and a wonderful story that goes along with each one of those. So I welcome you all to head upstairs and check out the exhibition at Central. But if you're leaving right away, I just also want to let you know there is a continuation of Shelley's work at our Sherwood Village Branch Gallery. So if you find yourself up there, or just go up there and check out the rest of the work. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.